Quiero dar entrada a nuestro conferencista de esta noche. Tenemos el honor de contar con nosotros al señor Doron Rubin, quien nos visita desde Israel. Doron es nativo de la ciudad de Haifa. Tras su servicio militar en la brigada Nahal de las Fuerzas de Defensa de Israel, inició una carrera en educación sobre temas de judaísmo y sionismo, que se extiende ya por 25 años. En este rol ha trabajado en ciudades como Jerusalén, Londres, Tel Aviv y Washington, entre otras. En años recientes ha trabajado como director de la unidad de enlace de la Sokhnut, conocida como Shutfut, y dirigiendo, entre otros, el enlace entre la región de Eshkol en el sur de Israel con México y la región noreste de Nueva York. Doron cuenta con un máster en filosofía judía y en administración por la Universidad Hebrea de Jerusalén. Es casado, tiene 4 hijos entre las edades de 3 y 18 años. Aunque en semanas recientes mudó su residencia, el pasado verano él vivía con su familia en el sur de Israel y esta noche nos dará un testimonio personal de cómo es y lo que significa vivir bajo fuego, sabiendo que en cualquier instante volverán a ser disparados cohetes por los terroristas y poniendo en riesgo tu casa, tu vida y la de tu familia. Sin más preámbulo, por favor, demos un fuerte aplauso de bienvenida a Doron Rubin.
But as you can see, really all the area of Eshkol was under attack. This slide, just to give you the statistics with regard to each yeshuv, each settlement, how many rockets were aimed towards them. And you can see Kerem Shalom, which is right on the border between Gaza, Egypt, and Israel, was hit the most. But you can see that there were others that had almost nothing or really nothing. But you can see how this affected each settlement, and it's important to say each of these communities in Eshkol, and I'm sure you know about life in kibbutzim and in moshavim, is a very close knit. And when a place is attacked, everybody's aware of it. I will, in a second, relate to how people dealt with this situation. So these are some of the pictures of what you could see of the damage that was caused. And as you can see, when a rocket, like you see there, it is sent, first of all, there's different kind of rockets. There's the mortar shells that that are short distance, and the Iron Dome can't protect them against them. We have the Qassam, which are really homemade rockets, usually up to 7 kilometers. And then we have the Grad missiles, which are much longer distance. Most of the rockets that were sent to Eshkol are the two closer range, but each of them has many bullet points that once they hit, they get spread all over the place, and that's why it's so important to be in a safe room, and that's why it's so important that if you're not in a safe room, you're on the ground, because then there's a smaller chance that you will be hit. And just to give an example, the tragic death of the 4-year-old boy, Daniel Tregelman, in Kibbutz Nachalot, which is just north of Eshkol, was when he was in his house, in his home, in his living room. The siren went off. There were actually in Nachal Oz 4 seconds to get into the safe room. They managed to get the 2 younger children in, and the rocket landed in their parking lot, and one of these bullets went through the door and hit his neck. And in each of these mortars, there's at least 100 of these bullets. You could, whenever you see a rocket landing, you can see also the bullets, how they sort of spread around the area. I want to sort of talk about two groups of people that were affected. We have those kibbutzim that are on the border with Gaza. Going back, if you remember, I can go back afterwards and show you. We have 8 kibbutzim that are within 4 kilometers from Gaza. These kibbutzim were the ones that were near the tunnels, and that were not that Iron Dome was not able to protect against them. And in those kibbutzim, 80% of the population especially children, husbands or wives who weren't needed, seniors and so on, moved to outside of the area. It's very interesting and very sad to say that many of these kibbutzim already have, because of previous operations, have a partner kibbutz in the center or in the north of Israel that is already sort of ready to accept them. So for instance, Nirim, which is probably the kibbutz that was hit the worst because two of its members were killed and a few of its residents were very badly injured. They moved to Mishmar HaEmek, which is near Tivon, not far away from Haifa. And so on. Each kibbutz had its partner space, and for during the whole operation, or most of the operation, those people further away from Gaza, but nevertheless were under constant attack, and of course also the army was all around them. They, in most cases, stayed most of the time in the settlements. As it says here, 70% of them stayed. Many of them would go for a weekend to family or friends, but most of the time they stay. One of the issues that we have in Israel, and the Eshkol had to deal with, is that this was not an all-out war. Or, this was not a situation where immediately everything was shut down, like maybe the Yom Kippur War. But it was actually so many people had to continue working because whether they work in the kibbutzim or the moshavim or they work outside Eshkol, they had to find a balance. And this is during the summer when you need to take care of the children, there's all this uncertainty, and this was part of the daily routine and daily life that people had to make on a regular day choices, whether to stay, whether they want to go and sit and sleep in a sofa with their friends or go to a hotel. And of course, as I'm sure you know, it's not that the Israeli public were not happy to accept them, and many hotels gave them reductions, in many cases gave them place for free. But nevertheless, the situation of being really a refugee is not a situation that anybody wants to experience, and that was part of the challenge that the residents of Eshkol, and of course the other areas, the residents of Eshkol, the children in Eshkol, have been born into this situation. When you talk to a 14-year-old child, teenager, since they were born, they've been trained. They're used to being in this kind of environment that occasionally a rocket might land, and they need to find a safe room and know how to deal with it. But this specific summer has taken it up a level, and really the challenge that we have is how to carry on. Some of the things that made this situation challenging is, first of all, as we said, that for 2 months there was no normal life in Eshkol. I mean, when you were in Tel Aviv during the summer, yes, occasionally you would have an alarm. You would probably not have a safe room. You would go to your stairway, but you could be in the coffee house. It's not an experience that I want anybody of us to have, and it has implications. But it's different when for 2 months you're really there's days when you can't leave the safe room. In Israel today, at the end of the day, Eshkol is about an hour and 15 minutes away from Tel Aviv without traffic, but not the traffic they have in Mexico. There's quite a lot of people who work in the center of Israel, not necessarily Tel Aviv, but in the area, or Beersheba, and live in Eshkol. And over the years, what's interesting is that many of the young adults who grow up in Eshkol go to study, live the life in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or maybe even in New York. But when they settle down, when they have a family, they move back to Eshkol. The diplomacy around this, trying to make sure that the ceasefire stays a ceasefire, at least in the near future, and possibly that there will be some kind of negotiation to find a settlement. I don't know if anybody can be optimistic or pessimistic. I think the people in Eshkol are realistic. And on the one hand, and it's important to say, most of the residents of Eshkol, probably from a political perspective, come from probably the more left side of the political spectrum in Israel. And while they were attacked, they also feel very badly for the residents on the other side of the border, the citizens of Gaza, especially those that have nothing to do with attacking Israel. And in the past actually had a very good relationship with them. Before the Second Intifada, even before the First Intifada, many of them worked in the fields in Eshkol, and there were a lot of close relationships. Obviously, today there's very little connection, but at the end of the day, because this is all in very short distances, if people, residents in Gaza will live a peaceful life, that will also impact the peaceful life on the Eshkol side, and definitely I can say on behalf of many of the Eshkol residents that many of them pray that some kind of political diplomatic solution will be found that will be able to end this kind of situation. That said, knowing that we have Hamas on the other end, people are expecting the worst, and a lot of the physical security is also building more safe spaces and making some of the safe space sort of reachable, and trying to find other solutions that can strengthen the physical security. The second thing is the community resilience, and this is a very significant part in moving forward. And I can share with you that through the Jewish Agency, we've been able to, over the Chagim, over the high holidays now, make resources available for community events in each of the kibbutzim near the Gaza border. And that was something that sort of helped gain community life. One of the programs was called The Whole Summer in One Day, and they did, they tried to rebuild and regain the community. And one of the interesting things to say, I told you when I talked that about 80% of the population in the kibbutzim near Gaza left during the war. Probably 95% of the population is back now. Of course, many times it's a mixed population, but for us, most of these conversations don't happen in front of a big crowd. It happens more in a small group or one-on-one. And really, if we want to look at it, we need to identify who we're talking to. So one group to relate to is of course, as I said before, when we speak with Jews, it's a very different conversation. And one of the things that is important to say is that probably today you can't be Jewish without some kind of relationship to Israel. It could be a positive, it could be a negative, it could be love, it could be hate, it could be a combination, it could be many kind of things. And that's one of the challenges that we have. But really, when I meet a Jew and I speak with them about Israel, I don't really care what their political opinion. I actually want them to be connected to Israel, because this is a significant part of being Jewish. So this is one group, and within that group, and of course the size of the circles could be different in different environments. We have those people that are very pro-Israel. I would imagine here in Mexico, probably there's almost a complete overlap between being Jewish and pro-Israel. But the reason why I'm making a difference, first of all, in North America, there are many Jews who know hardly that they're Jews, and they don't know why they need to protect Israel or relate to Israel. For instance, on the university campus. So one of the challenges is to connect them, and of course those that are pro-Israel, we can also break that to different groups. One of the groups that I actually think are the most interesting groups are the people that have this complete love to Israel. Israel is always right, which, from my perspective, I actually would like them to be more sophisticated in their connection to Israel. And part of loving Israel is also criticizing. I'm sure that if you've been to Israel and if you asked Israelis what they think about Israel, they will give you a list of issues that they would criticize Israel. And that's not because, as an Israeli, I don't criticize Israel because I don't like Israel or I don't love Israel. It's actually because I want Israel to be a better place. And within a Jewish group, we want, at least I'm saying this as my perspective, we want to have a dialogue about Israel which relates to us being Jewish and what it means to be Jewish today, and where does Israel fit into that picture. We have the general population, which we know has very little information about Israel. Many times we not even know where Israel is on the map, how many people live in Israel, and so on. And when I speak with somebody who has very basic questions, then it's very different than somebody that has a lot of knowledge. And then there's the fourth group that I want to relate to. Those are the people that are anti-Israel. And I'm sorry that. Of course, what I'm saying now is very schematic. It's very stereotyped. I'm very aware, but we're trying to put some kind of order in this mess. And I can also add that one can shift from one place to the other. I've met some very, and by the way, some of the people that are the most vocal anti-Israel speakers are Jews and Israelis. And when I can say emotionally, when I've met somebody who's anti-Israel and who's Jewish, I want to sort of shake them and tell them, what are you doing? But at the same time, I'm aware that that's not going to be very helpful, probably, that really, if we can sort of change the way that we talk about Israel and not just try to argue about who did what first and who started in many kind of sort of in a children kind of environment and shift to a different conversation, then we can probably get to different kind of results. So in order to sort of to simplify things, there's really sort of three things that help connect. When we talk about, and I'll explain in a second what that means, get involved and focus. Let me break it down. So when we talk about connecting, there's really two sides of it. First of all, self-awareness. One of the things that whenever I work with pro-Israel students is clarify why are they connected to Israel? Sometimes we say that we're pro-Israel, but let's ask. First of all, let's be clear about why Israel is important to us. Because the first thing about connecting to Israel is being able to that we bring ourselves to the conversation, and we need to be aware. The second, but another part of being self-aware is that I'm aware of how I share my emotions towards Israel. If I don't have any patience for somebody who says something that I can't agree with, and I start shouting at them, or ignore them, or my movement, then I should probably work on it, on that kind of response. And we need to be aware, and that's sort of the first step of getting ready for the conversation about Israel. The second thing is being able to process my personal connection, the question sort of to be asked is why. What kind of personal history do I have that makes me connected to Israel? Where does it come from? What kind of personal experience? Because again, when we talk about Israel, we don't. Our role is not to give a soundbite in an interview in the media. Our role is to give is to share the information that we know and to share our personal experience. And that makes it very different than something that just say information that we know or don't know. Similar to what we had earlier in the conversation, when somebody knows an Israeli and can say, and especially from Eshkol, that you can tell their story, or that makes it very different than just giving some statistics. So this is the first part of being able to get ready for this conversation about Israel, is to connect. The second part is get involved. So involved in other social activities on campus, even not Jewish or Israeli, but being able to show that what we know is something that is more, that we have a passion that is not just quoting lines that we might have read or not read in an internet site. The third part, and that's where I think is the key, is that we need to be focused. Again, going back to what I showed you before about the different target population, is that we need to be able to listen to who we're having the conversation. As I said, most of the times these are one-on-one conversation or in small group, and to be able to really to understand who you're speaking to is a key fact, and that needs us to focus, because many times we already know the answers before we've even heard the question. But actually being able to relate to the people, understand what is that they care about, it makes the whole conversation very different. And then to choose the appropriate content. As I said before, if I meet a taxi driver in Mexico, then and he might ask me about why does Israel kill poor Palestinian children, then I need to. It's a different conversation than having a conversation in the school or with somebody who I know has come to sort of doesn't believe that Israel has a right to exist, and that's something that in many ways we need to be able to relate the answer. I'll give you an example. One of the key, one of the more interesting groups to work on campuses in North America are the Afro-Americans. And in many ways, the Afro-Americans have sort of naturally relate to the underdog, and the underdog are considered sort of in public domain the Palestinians. And one of the things that we did on campus is tell them the story of the Ethiopian Aliyah to Israel, and that actually Ethiopians are equal citizens and have been welcomed to the state of Israel, and are it's not that we don't have challenges, it's not that we don't have racism, and this is, again, by the way, saying that Israel is not perfect, I think is one of the key things with most reasonable people. The way that I presented to you today, the story of Eshkol, I hope I got the message clear, that the story of Eshkol is not the last summer. The story of Eshkol is a successful story of taking a place which was a desert and making it bloom, and we have challenges, and that's a Zionist story. And if we can change the conversation to that area, then we feel more confident. We don't need to always be completely right, but we definitely have an optimistic perspective. As I said before, it's not the end of the world if I didn't convince my partner of conversation. The conversation is ongoing, and also, a bit of one of the things that I've learned is a bit of tzniut at times. That I can also learn from somebody that I'm having an argument with, and as we know as Jews, the arguments is actually what helped us create and become who we are, because we like to argue all the time. That actually helps us fine-tune and become better people. So I hope this sort of gave you some kind of thoughts and directions. And as I said, this is an ongoing conversation. So I hope to continue. And to